Now we're going to talk about credit cards now. So this whole first page is just a bunch of words. There's not problems to solve. So I'll give a general thing. So I won't read this off to you because I think you can read. Um, there's a couple different types of credit cards. You got bank issued credit cards. You got store issued credit cards, and then you have travel and entertainment cards or charge cards. So the bank issued cards, and maybe you have these. The one credit card I have is from the bank that I am with. It's the most convenient. Interest rates are usually lower, and credit limits are usually higher. Store issued cards, this is like when you're out shopping and they're like, would you like to apply for our credit card? um, so, I gotta think, what are the most common ones? TJ Maxx, and Home Goods, Kohl's. They're usually the ones that I've been to here recently that are always asking, oh, would you like to sign up for them? So some of them can only be used in that store or in family stores. So like the TJ Maxx, that's going to work in Home Goods, Marshalls, and the stores that they are related to. Um, they might be co-branded, so they might use Visa or MasterCard or American Express. They usually have higher interest rates and lower credit limits. And then the travel and entertainment cards, or charge cards, have very high limits, sometimes unlimited credit, but the catch is they have to be paid in full each month. So higher annual fees and expensive penalties for late payments. But I will say that probably this card is probably what a lot of the celebrities and billionaires and millionaires have because they have that ability to pay off it every month. But I'm not saying you couldn't go out and get one, but I think the likelihood would be harder, at least for me. I am a teacher, so I am not the richest person out there, but who knows? Okay, credit card statements. So this is like the monthly. I don't say bill, but like monthly, all of your transactions. It tells you like what your minimum payment is, and I guess it depends on the card. It might give you a schedule of like, hey, if you only make the minimum payment, then it's going to take you 3 years to pay this off or whatever. There's a billing period, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, January 1st to January 31st. But it could. Like mine, I think goes from like the 14th of the month to like the 11th of the next month or something like that. The due date is the thing you need to be most worried about because late payments are a negative on your credit report. So we don't want to be late on paying a card. And all you have to do is hit the minimum payment, and then you're not considered late. So you can always do the minimum payment and then pay more later, um, just so you don't get that credit hit. All right, so here's an example of a credit card statement. So we're going to answer some questions off of this. All right, we want to know the balance due. So the balance due is what this new balance is. 3663.23. The minimum required payment is right under that, 3663. The length of time it takes to pay off the balance by paying the minimum payments. And that's if you didn't charge any more to it. It's kind of like this fine print here almost. The estimated time to pay off your new balance in full if you pay only the monthly payment without anything more added to it is 2 years, 4 months. And then the interest rate for purchases. Let's see, interest rate for purchases. It's almost 20%. 19.99%. All right. So yeah, it'll tell you what your statement period is. Most important is the due date. And here that is. And trying to think what else. So this summary of account gives you like the basics. On another document, it would give you like a line by line of how much you spent and where. Right? All right, compute the interest, balance, and minimum payment due for a credit card. So computing all of these just depends on what your average daily balance is. And then you can find the rest based off of that. So the average daily balance. Here's where it gets a little tricky. So most credit card companies compute interest using the average daily balance method. And here it is. We start with a list of transactions with their dates and amounts. And then for each day that had transactions, find the total of the transactions for the day. Expenditures are treated as positive. Payments are treated as negative. Create a table containing each day with a different balance. The balance is the previous balance plus the day's total transactions. And add a column for the number of days those balances until it changed. Add a column containing the balances multiplied by the other days. Find the sum and then divide. So, all right, let's do this here. Okay, so if I look at this, I'm trying to do this in like an organized way. So it already has the dates and the amounts. So we're good with step 1. For each day that had transactions, find the total of the transactions that day. All right, so I think the only one that would change would be this one here. So we would add them. So let's, I'm just going to make a column here. And all these will be the same. So 83, 43. I'm going to add those two together. And let's see, what will that give me since they were on the same day. So 45.12 plus 85.34. I get 130.46. Okay, so we've got that. And let me just double check. That's the balance. Payment. So that's going to be a negative value. Groceries, auto parts, restaurant, and shoes. All right, everything else is positive. All right, create a table containing each day with a different balance. The balance is the previous balance plus the total days transactions. So, okay. I'm going to call that, this was step 2. So step 3 is going to be like the running total, right? So this first one, we just have the 450.21. Well, then the next day, let's see, 450.21. I'm going to subtract the 120, and I get 330.21. Well, the next day, I have added, it's 83.43, and I get 413.64. And then I'm going to add 130.46. And then last one, I'm going to add the 98.23. All right, so that's my running balances. Add a column for the number of days since the balance changed. Okay. So I'll label this as 4. So from May 1st to May 10th, 9 days had passed. From 10th to 15, 5 days had passed. From 15 to 26, it'd be 11 days. And then from 26 to 30 would be 4. And then there's 31 days in May, and there wasn't anything else. But let's leave that for now. I don't know if I need that last thing yet. So then what we're going to do. Sorry, I went to blow my nose. So let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 4 numbers on this side. Okay, so then I do need that change here. So from the 30th, let's see. We don't have anything for the 31st, and then we don't know if we spent anything on the 1st, but we're going to count it as 2 days from here, from the 30th to the next statement, because I need 5 numbers, so I need it to the end. And now, let's see, we have done that. Add a column that contains the balances multiplied by the number of days until it changed. All right, so 5. I'm going to multiply these 2 columns. So I'm going to do 450/21 times 9. And then I'm going to do 330/21 times 5. And then 413/64 times 11. And 544/10 times 4. And that last one, 642/33 times 2. Find the sum of that last column. All right, so I'm going to add all of these up. And I get a total of $13,714.04. And then it says divide the sum by the numbers in the billing period, often the number of days in the month. And that'll give us the average daily balance. So this cycle goes from the 1st to the 31st. So we will take that 13,714.04 and divide it by 31 for about 442. We'll just do 39, round it up. All right. So that's the average daily balance for this account. All right, and I definitely misspelled this. This should be ADB for average daily balance. And then R is, remember that, rate as a decimal, and D is number of days in the billing cycle. And then that should also be daily balance. All right, let's do it for this one. Why not? So the interest is that average daily balance times the rate. Oh, that's why we can't do it on this one. It didn't give us a rate. Okay. So just kidding. We'll do it for some other scenarios. Okay, so average daily balance of 2,765 with a rate of 13.99 and a billing cycle of 30 days. So we get the interest is the average daily balance times the rate as a decimal, so 0.1399. D is the number of days in billing cycle, so 30 days, and then all over 365 days. So let's calculate that. So 2765 times 0.1399 times 30 divided by 365. And I get 31.79, which I guess it's 79 and some change, so we really should round it up to 3180. All right, let's do it again. So the interest is 789.30 times 0.1799 times 31 divided by 365. And I get 12.04 12.0598 and some change, so let's just make that 12.06. And then this last one here, so interest is the average daily balance times the rate times number of days in the billing cycle all over 365. And I get 9.55. All right. And the minimum payment due. So that's what they have calculated as the smallest amount that you need to pay to like be in compliance, I guess. So depends on the kind of balance you have or the type of card. Depends on how they like calculate it. So for larger balances that are usually over $1,000, the minimum payment might be some percentage of the balance. If you have a moderate balance, so between $25 and $1,000, the minimum is going to be a specific dollar amount. So most typically $25 is that dollar amount. And if the balance is under $25, then the minimum payment is just the balance. All right, so let's look at some things. So, all right, the FYA credit card company has the following minimum payment policy. For balances over $1,000, the minimum payment is 25%, or 2.5%. Gosh, 25% would be a lot of the balance plus fees, but not interest. For balances between $500 and $999.99, the minimum payment is $50. And for balances $499 and under, the minimum payment is $25 or the balance due, whichever is smaller. So let's look. So we're going to do the minimum payment for these different balances. So the balance due is $1,309 and no fees. So that's over $1,000. So we're going to follow the 2.5%. So 1,309 times 0.025. So 1,309 times 0.025 gets me $32.73. So that would be the minimum you'd have to pay. The second one is $265. So that's a low amount. So that's under the $499.99. And there's $35 in fees. So it says we either have the balance due or $25, whichever smaller. So that's going to be $25. And this $35 in fees doesn't apply here. Let's see, balance due is $784.90 with no fees. So that's that middle one. So $500 to $999. So the minimum payment is $50, right? I think, yeah, that is all for credit cards. So if you have any questions, let me know.